He bought a rusty old ship, and found a seductive alien woman waiting in his bed. The salvage yard at the edge of the Coron Belt smelled of rust, oil, and desperation. Rows of derelict ships stretched into the darkness, their hulls scarred by meteor strikes and years of neglect. To most, it was a graveyard. To Cade Riston, it was an opportunity. The former cargo hauler, Fortune's Gamble, had caught his eye the moment the automated gate rolled aside. Her hull was a patchwork of metal plates, some scorched, some mismatched. A freighter from the last century. Slow, clumsy, and ugly as sin. Perfect. Nobody would suspect a smuggler to hide contraband in a ship so unremarkable. 3,000 credits, the salvage master had rasped, leaning on a rusted cane. No warranty. She might fly, she might explode. I'll take her, Cade had said without hesitation. It was a stupid decision, he knew. His contacts in the Rim colonies needed fast deliveries, and speed wasn't this ship's strong suit. But her cargo bays were enormous, her registry was long dead, and, if nothing else, he had the itch for a project. He'd spent the day prowling her corridors, listening to the groan of metal and the occasional flicker of lights. The engine room was a mess of tangled wires, but his engineering AI, Nox, assured him she'd limp through space with a bit of coaxing. By the time night cycle rolled in, Cade was exhausted. He found his way to the captain's quarters, a small, dimly lit room with a bunk, a dusty desk, and a locker that still smelled faintly of ozone. He tossed his bag on the floor, unstrapped his boots, and collapsed onto the bed without bothering to check the sheets. That was when he heard it, a soft, melodic hum. At first he thought it was the ventilation system whining. Then, as his eyes adjusted to the gloom, he froze. There was someone in the bed with him. The figure shifted, and a curtain of silver hair spilled across the pillow. Her skin was pale with an iridescent shimmer, as though lit from within. Her eyes, large, slanted, and impossibly deep, glowed faintly in the darkness. She was dressed in something between a robe and a slip, fabric clinging to her curves as though woven from starlight. "You're late," she said, her voice low and resonant, each word curling like smoke in the air. Cade's pulse kicked. "Who the hell are you?" She tilted her head, studying him with those luminous eyes. "Your ship purchased me. Or perhaps, you purchased my ship. I bought a pile of junk from a scrapyard. You weren't part of the deal." "Not a deal," she murmured, sliding upright with languid grace. "An inheritance." Cade sat up, every instinct telling him to reach for the blaster under the bunk, but something about her gaze rooted him in place. "I don't believe in ghosts," he said carefully. Her lips curved. "Good. I'm not one." She explained, or rather hinted, that she had been aboard the Fortune's Gamble for decades, in stasis within a hidden chamber deep in the ship's structure. The old captain had sealed her away, for her own protection. She offered no name, no origin, only that she could not leave the ship for long without consequence. Cade didn't buy half of it, but curiosity was stronger than suspicion. "Fine," he said finally. "What do I call you?" Her smile widened. "Lyara." By the next day, Cade was regretting every life choice that had brought him here. Lyara followed him everywhere. She wasn't exactly intrusive. She didn't ask about his cargo runs or rifle through his gear, but her presence was distracting. The way she moved, the way she spoke. It was like she was tuned to some frequency that tugged at his attention no matter how hard he tried to ignore it. In the mess hall, she inspected the ration packs with delicate disdain. "You eat this?" she asked, turning a foil packet over as though it might contain poison. "It's protein paste," Cade said. "Keeps you alive." "It keeps you miserable," she countered, setting it down with finality. He tried to focus on repairs, but Lyara had an uncanny knack for showing up just as he crawled into some cramped corner of the ship. Sometimes she'd hum softly, the same tune he'd heard that first night. Other times she'd stand so close he could feel the warmth radiating from her skin, making him forget which wire he was supposed to cut. Nox the AI was no help. She appears non-hostile, it reported in its clipped synthetic voice. Her biosignature is unusual, but not immediately dangerous. Define unusual, Cade muttered. Not human. Not in any known database. Also, your heart rate increases significantly when she enters proximity. Shut up, Nox. 3 nights later, Cade dreamed of water. Endless dark water, lit from below by shifting light. A figure swam toward him, hair billowing like a comet's tail. When she reached him, her hands cupped his face, her lips brushing his. He woke with a start. Lyara was sitting at the edge of his bed, watching him. You were calling my name, she said softly. I don't dream about people I don't trust, he said. You do now. He should have told her to get out. He should have locked the door. But instead, he asked the question that had been gnawing at him since she appeared. Why are you here, Lyara? Really? Her expression shifted, still serene but tinged with something he couldn't read. Because this ship is my prison. And you may be my key. She leaned closer, her breath warm against his ear. But keys can choose to turn, or not. The next day they were intercepted. A patrol cutter bearing the insignia of the Varan Syndicate dropped out of warp in front of them. Cade's stomach sank. The Syndicate didn't patrol without a reason, and the only reason they'd be here was if someone had tipped them off. Lyara stood behind him on the bridge, her eyes narrowing at the sight of the vessel. They're not here for your cargo, she said. They're here for you. Cade guessed. Yes. The comm crackled. Unregistered freighter. Cut your engines and prepare to be boarded. Cade's hand hovered over the throttle. If I do, are they going to kill me? They'll try, Lyara said calmly. But if you don't, I can help you. Something in her tone told him she wasn't bluffing. He slammed the throttle forward. The Fortune's Gamble roared, well groaned, into acceleration, her old engines screaming in protest. The Syndicate cutter gave chase. Plasma fire lit the void. Cade jinked and rolled, praying the hull could take the strain. Then Lyara stepped to the console, her hands moving across the navigation controls with unnatural precision. Brace, she warned. The stars outside blurred, then folded, and suddenly they were somewhere else entirely. Cade's stomach lurched from the instantaneous jump. The Fortune's Gamble wasn't equipped for that kind of maneuver. How? I told you, Lyara said, turning to him. This ship and I are bound. I can do things with her no one else can. In the quiet that followed, Cade tried to process everything. Lyara was clearly valuable. Dangerously so. Whatever her species was, whatever her connection to the ship, the Syndicate was willing to kill for it. He found her later in the captain's quarters, sitting cross-legged on the bed. You could leave, he said. I could drop you somewhere safe. She shook her head. Safe is an illusion. If I leave, they'll find me. Here with you I have a chance. Cade hesitated. He didn't like being used, but he liked the idea of Syndicate assassins even less. Fine, he said at last. But you start telling me the truth.